Yo, what is up, folks? Welcome back. Welcome back. What's up, Enrique? Got Enrique in the house already. First one in. First one in, last one out. You know how it goes, right? But welcome back, guys. Happy Wednesday. Today is Wednesday the 10th, I believe. Already Wednesday the 10th. So happy Wednesday, guys. Welcome to another one of these live Bitcoin and crypto market analysis streams where we like to break down these charts. We like to break down Bitcoin on a technical side, right? Through a technical lens, looking at the levels, looking at support, resistance, volume, oscillators. We look at as much as we can possibly look at to try and gain a little bit of clarity as to what's happening on the chart. So we do look at the majors as well, the altcoin majors, and occasionally we'll take some altcoin chart requests that we'll kind of pull up, or some TradFi stuff if there's time and if there's room. We'll look at some TradFi plays, and whether that's stocks, commodities, anything like that. But yeah, we try and focus on Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the leader in our sector, and then we'll kind of branch off from there. As always, guys, these streams are not financial advice. They are not recommendations on what you should be buying or selling. They are simply for educational and entertainment purposes. And really, it's just my opinions, my take. It's me sharing my lived experiences, my personal thoughts and opinions, and sometimes a little bit of what I will personally be doing as far as how I play some of these markets or how I look at these charts. And again, what you'll find is if you hang out with us, if you spend some time with us here on this show, you'll find out that I really take a pretty balanced look at the charts. I really don't have a bias. I don't have an underlying agenda to pump anything or dump anything. I'm just looking at the charts. To me, these are what video games are to a lot of people, what puzzles are to some other people. To me, it's a mental exercise. It's something that I feel is engaging, challenges me a little bit. And ultimately, I don't really care what the ticker is behind the chart. I mean, I could be looking at the chart of Bitcoin. I could be looking at the chart of silver. I could be looking at the chart of the latest Jordans. It doesn't matter to me. Pikachu cards, whatever, right? You can give me a chart of anything, and I'm going to look at it through the same lens. I'm going to apply the same principles, same techniques, and you'll see that it's. I try and keep it pretty level-headed. We always give the bull case, the bear case. We like to look at levels to the top side, levels to the downside. We try and keep it pretty wholesome. Pretty wholesome. So with that, I mean, let's jump into some of this stuff here. Let me pull up the trading view chart here. There we go. We got trading view. Boom. All right. So as you guys are coming in, if this is a type of shows you enjoy, if you like TA shows, if you like market analysis, if you like to sit in on these market scans, make sure you're coming in, give it a like, give it a repost, give us a thumbs up, jump in the chat. If you've got time to jump in the chat, come hang with us. Always appreciate feedback and engagement on these shows as opposed to just talking to a screen and a mic. Shout out to, what's up, Michael? We got Mike up in here. Shout out to Public for sponsoring this show. If you guys haven't checked out Public, go to public.com/wolf, and you can take a look at some of their offerings over on Public. Public likes to call themselves the investing platform for those who take it seriously. And, if you guys have sat in on some of the interviews that have been done here on Wolf Bitcoin for Public with the CEO and the COO, you heard that straight out of their mouths. Like, this is a platform for people who take it seriously, people who are looking for edge. And the way they are offering that opportunity is through some agentic tools, man. So if you go to Public, what you'll see is there's some opportunity to build some AI strategies, whether you're short-term, long-term player, whether you're in stocks or in crypto. You can use some of these AI tools to build some strategies. So go check them out if you want to shift from maybe a very old school brokerage and you're looking for something a little bit more future looking, future thinking. Public.com/wolf. Give them a look and see if you find something you like. Shout out to them again for sponsoring the show. Michael Wynn in the house, dude. This is a good guy here. What's up, brother? Good to see you around, man. Hopefully the family's good. Hopefully the babies are good, man. It's a lot of work, dude, but it is so rewarding, man. That's your life's work, huh? That's like your life's work is the fam and the legacy you build there. But dude, it is some days it's a lot, man. So Hey, we got Rudo in the house. He's spying on me, man. He's spying on me to steal my takes for the next spaces. No, I'm just kidding, brother. I appreciate you jumping on, man. Appreciate you jumping on. What's funny is this is a thing you'll find when you get analysts in a room is you'll kind of end up with similar takes, similar levels. You might get there through a different method, a different way, but you somehow end up at similar results, man. And that's what's cool about this stuff. So 18-year clip with lifetime besties. That is so true. That is hilarious, man. That is hilarious. You know what's funny though is, dude, the payoff on this stuff too, though. I guess you could say it goes both ways. Like, dude, you may be birthing the next, I don't know, the next Michael Jordan, the next Tiger, like something, something cool, the next Max Verstappen. Like, you just never know, right? You just never know. You never know what you're getting next. The next Beyonce, the next, something like that. So yeah, I mean, I'd say the risk to reward structure there is a little interesting, if you will. Oh man. But let's take a look at Bitcoin, guys. Let's jump in here. So we'll go back to the daily view on BTC. Not a lot has changed. It's pretty much what we've been talking about, guys. Like, in terms of, I'm on the wrong chart, actually. BTC USDT. Hold on here. I got a lot of versions of this chart. But so far, look, I mean, Rudo was kind of talking about this, and we've been talking about it since a couple days ago, but definitely yesterday, that really BTC got that sweep of that February low. So we did get that Feb low sweep, which was the prior quarter low, but we haven't had any acceptance below that, right? And we really spoke about that quite in depth yesterday over a couple streams, actually, that we just haven't seen acceptance. And really, you have to go down to a 1 hour essentially to see any kind of closes below that. Because on the 2 hour, you didn't get a close below. On the 4, 6, none of these time frames gave you a close below that 60K level, but the 1 hour did. And even then, I mean, if you really zoom in, even on the 1 hour, it immediately, with the subsequent candle, immediately went back above that level. And then it was able to hold it on a retest. Even though it wicked below, you did get a close above that level, and we've not gone below it since. So far, this to me, I mean, it's screaming pretty much what Rudo, we were saying on the spaces, which is that yes, there was interest at that level, maybe even a little bit below, but enough buying, showed up, enough buyers stepped in here that ultimately you didn't get long-term acceptance below that level, at least not yet, right? And what we're seeing is we got a nice little pullback here. The scenario we're looking at for BTC was essentially, which one was it, man? I mean, that's part of it, but I had another one drawn up that kind of covered this. We talked about the possibility that we're kind of putting in like a multi-day, multi-session W down here at these lows. And if that's the case, if this was the bottom of the right side of this W, we should be seeing some kind of break here above this high. Confirmation ultimately is a break above here. As soon as we see price move above there, then we've now, established a higher low. And at that point, we'll be in the process of building a higher high. And so at least internally, right, like structure internal to like the monthly range here, right, this current range or even the quarterly range, it will be uptrending once again. So we're keeping an eye on that. Currently a little soon still to be calling that one. So this is the 50% level of the previous week. So, last week we saw that big, massive drop. This would be about that 50% retracement level, which is roughly where I suspect we could be seeing a move. Maybe extends below, maybe it's just, or maybe it's just below, maybe if it extends above it, but roughly in this area, I suspect we could be seeing a move. And if there's a pullback, then I'd be looking for, for a continued, if this plays out, a continuation of these higher lows here and, a pullback roughly to about the neckline of the W, if that were to play out. So we still don't know if that for sure is what's setting up here, but so far it's kind of looking that way. It's looking like maybe this is in play. So, so far that's looking pretty good. We did cover, what that could have looked like if it would have swept the highs. That to me, if we would have got to move higher here off of that Sunday pump, right? Sunday into Monday, if we would have swept that high, that Sunday high, To me, I would have increased the probabilities of a sweep of last week's low. Since this did not play out, we shifted over to the W as being a more probable outcome. So we're kind of looking for this. We're seeing if this is going to hold here. You know, I did share a post with this level for a pullback. So far, we've had 2 touches on it, and it is holding. It is holding for now. You know, we'll see if that sticks, but it is kind of holding. I don't want to go above 68 because then we won't make a wave 5 and a new low. Nah, not necessarily, man. Not necessarily. This thing could go to 72 and we could still break down. It could go 74, still break down. I'm not too concerned about that. But I'll have to look to see how you're counting the waves. If you want, why don't you do this? If you have a chart, Enrique, why don't you drop a chart below the stream on X and I'll go take a look at it. Hunt that short if RSI goes higher at that 50%. Yes, sir. Hoping this is just a wave 3 from the bottom and then dump some more. Yeah, I try not to get too married to either outcome. In the past, when I've gotten too bearish or too bullish and I get too attached to an outcome, it's rarely been like a profitable place to be, like super tied to something. So I'm just I'm flip-flopping, dude. I'm in my flip-flopper arc right now where it's like I'll go from bullish to bearish as need be. Macro, like I've got a clear opinion on macro, right? Like if we zoom out to like a quarterly chart or something like that, yeah, I can tell you that this still looks like it's still got downside potential, but it's hard for me on a sweep of a previous quarter low. It's hard for me to be super, super bearish. Just like if we were to sweep a previous quarter high, I'd have a hard time not being a little bit cautious, at least on an initial reaction, right? So there's like 20 days left before the quarter closes. A lot can happen in 20 days, but currently, man, we saw the sweep and we're not seeing continuation. And currently we're above that level that was swept. We're above that low. So look, 20 days, let's see how the week closes first, but ultimately the monthly and the quarterly are still giving us plenty of time here. But yeah, right now, I mean, that looks like a clean deviation below, but no acceptance down there. Doesn't mean that this next candle can't sweep that low also. But it's just until that happens, dude, like we just got to take it a day at a time and a week at a time, you know. Definitely some cooling off that is happening there for BTC. Stablecoin dominance is the other chart. And this is part of the reason also why I went ahead and took a long position. The primary reason I was able to take a long position here on this drop in the sweep was because I do have short exposure. Because I have short exposure, I'm okay if this goes lower, because that just means that the short just offsets whatever loss I take on that long. But the other reason that I felt confidence enough to jump into a long position after the sweep was done is stablecoin dominance, right? We talked about this, but same thing. Stablecoin dominance had a gnarly move to the upside, and it swept that Feb high, took out Feb high, didn't close above it. I mean, this to me right now is still looking, and then even here, even off of the recent price action, it's just having a hard time getting above that February high, right? And this is pretty much a mirror image of BTC. But sometimes structure's a little cleaner. Like here, for example, you can see that it's sitting right on that Feb level. Swept it, got above it. It's doing a lot of touches right there on that February level, right? That previous quarter level right there. It's like it's touching, it's wicking right to it. Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin is a little bit above it, right? Bitcoin is a little bit above it. Stablecoin is right on it. So if I see this hold up, excuse me, if I see this hold up, I'm looking for this here. I'm looking at stables, right? And I'm saying, all right, I need that level to hold. And ultimately, we'll want to see this run the high, run the last high, last day's high, last few days high here. And that's the confirmation. Like it's given us really clean structure, at least. Like your signal is a move above here. You get a move above there, you're breaking market structure here, right? Right. It's undeniable at that point. At that point, you've got an uptrend. Even if this uptrend ends up collapsing, you've got an uptrend on BTC. Stables is inverted, right? Let's not forget this is inverted. So stables is a downtrend, but it's the same thing. Same idea. Invalidation to the downside is this. Any move below there, then this was not uptrending, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. It seems so stupid, right? It's like, well, duh, if you take out the low, you're not uptrending. Well, I know it's that simple, but this is how simple we need to keep it, right? If this thing from here goes and puts in a high, duh, we're uptrending. But now we know. Now we know that this was a higher low, that was the low, and that we're in the process of making a higher high. And then you just play it level by level. And if it keeps doing that, you just keep looking for confirmations on a break above and a higher low. Break above, higher low, right? We'll keep it simple. Keep it simple. But that's the name of the game, fellas. That's the name of the game. But so far, look, I mean, stablecoin dominance on a 4 hour, it does not like this level here, this like 12.5 level. It does not like it. You've got 2 gnarly rejections off of that. You just broke this low that you put in between the 2 tops. I'm watching this here currently on stablecoin dominance. I'm watching to see if this doesn't just come up and ultimately do that, right? Is it putting in a little bit of like a shoulder here and then it's going to roll over? It could be down here. It could be up here. I don't think it should come as high as this if we're still going to break substantially lower here. But there's a low volume node there. For me, my primary scenario that I'm looking for is like maybe something like this, maybe something like that. And then we had lower. And look, another way you could look at this is throw a quick little channel on here. Throw a quick channel on there. Boom. What do you know? That lines perfectly with about a touch of the upper side of that channel. I don't know. Do something like that. You know, once it starts getting down here, I'm not going to be too bearish on stables. You know, I'll start thinking, okay, what if this sweeps and holds, right? What if this starts coming down here, and then what if then the next move is that, right? So I'm in my flip-flopping stage right now where I'm getting bearish at highs and I'm getting bullish at lows, and I'm just playing the range, playing the levels. I'm not trying to be the next market wizard or Michael Burry. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to call some long extended move. I'm flip-flopping. I'm playing the range, man. That's all I'm focused on right now. You commented on it, Enrique? All right, cool. I'll check it out. Oh, yeah, these electrolytes hitting the spot, man. Let's go take a look at this. Jimmy Miner with the tag. Okay, here's your chart. I see it. Let's see here. Okay, you're counting from that break up there. So you're counting wave 1 off of the high. That's a 2, 3, 4. Interesting. Interesting. Couldn't you have also counted where you have that little sideways range at like 74 after wave 2? I mean, that would technically qualify as a wave 3, wouldn't it? Or does it violate one of the other rules in terms of like the length? Because it doesn't exceed the end of wave 1, which I know is one of the criteria. But I can't remember if yeah, I'm not as up to speed on like EW as I could be. But I know enough to like ask questions maybe. For wave 4 max, would like a max of a 382. Yeah, let me know what you think about that, if that makes any sense. What time frame are you on? Let me see here. You're on a 4 hour. Here, I'll pull it up on my chart. So you're on a 4 hour on BTC, and you're essentially counting wave 1. What'd you do? Wave 1, wave 2, or wave 2, wave 3. This is wave 4. You're looking for wave 5. I mean, I'd almost want to see what the daily looks like and then break it down. This is all one big ass move though, man. Yeah, maybe. I guess my question is this, like, couldn't this be a small wave here, but maybe not. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is why I moved away from trying to use EW too much. Is to me, it was too much time trying to understand that. Like this is why I actually like just looking at like weekly pivots and extremes, such as like your quarterly high, lows, stuff like that, and then look for a sweep. And then I typically just focus on like three general impulsive waves in either direction. So if we're moving up, it's like I want to see 3 impulsive waves in one direction. If we're moving down, 3 impulsive waves in the other direction. But yeah, I'm not really like a stickler for wave counts that much, man. Some people are really good at it. It's just not been my tool of choice. Wave 3 has to be the highest volume. Gotcha. Could be a wave 2 of the wave 3. Okay. I don't try to zoom in because then it gets messy. Exactly. I agree with that, man. I definitely agree with that. Look, to me, I like the trap moves. I like when I know that I've got the bottom of a range, and then I look for M's and W's at those range extremes. So you kind of saw it up here, right? You kind of had like that M that happened up there. Boom. And then down here, I'm looking for that dub after a sweep of a key level. We got the same thing up here too. We're looking for this level kind of as our high. You got the M above the range high, and I'm just kind of speculating on if we're getting now the W at the range low, essentially. Whether you count this the range low or whether you counted, something like I guess you could have even said like even that been a range low. Like, are we just getting the inverse of that, right? See what I mean? So I don't know. That's how I like to look at it. To me, it just simplifies my life, and it's less trading, trying to figure out all the mess inside, right? But yeah, and it's not to say that there couldn't be another move lower. There always can be another move lower. Really, until you get a move above, above here, nothing's really truly changed. You're just kind of consolidating down here. So there's not a whole lot to really call out there. 15K, 40K, dude. We were just talking about that on a Spaces this morning of like the downside targets. So look, I mean, here, let's pull this up. Just for fun, just for giggles. Like everyone's aware of the 4-year cycle and the counts and all that, but I mean, have you really gone and done, like, and I'm speaking just to everyone in general. Have you really gone and done the math of what it looks like if we go all the way down, right? But if you go and you do that, you'll find some similarities between the last few cycles. 1064 days, bottom to top, 364 days, top to bottom, 1428 days, bottom to bottom. There's some cool stuff. And then 84% back here, 77. I don't know. Do we speculate like a 70 to 72% drop? And if you did speculate a 70 to 72% drop, it puts you down in the 30s. Is there some structure down in the 30s that would make sense, right? Like, so after all that, after you kind of just say, okay, if you did 84, you did 77, could you do 72? Is there some structure down here that makes sense? I mean, I don't know. You've got a big ass support area here. You had an area of resistance here. Could that be support on the way down? Sure. Like that makes sense. There's a reason here horizontally, like to be paying attention, right? If we hide all of the drawings and we go to like a 12-month view of the chart. All right. So you had this little doji up here at the top. Well, I can't draw because it'll pull back all the other drawings. But you had this little reversal candle that printed here. A lot of times when you get a big directional candle and then you get this reversal that sweeps it but closes inside of that candle, a lot of times what that ends up doing is it comes back to the beginning of that first candle 1. So 1, 2, 3. If you follow like the ICT guys, they call this that PO3, power of 3, accumulation, manipulation, distribution, turtle soup, candle range theory. Like there's a lot of names for this setup here, but essentially that's what it is, right? Expansion, reversal, followed by expansion again. Where's the bottom of this candle? 37, right? If it comes back to the bottom of this candle is 37. So I don't know, man. I'm looking like my first target is about 38 to 42. I think that range makes a lot of sense, about 38 to 42. If we lost 38 to 42, there are some levels lower that could get interesting, but I think at that point it's like we're just, we're trying to use the crystal ball a little bit too much, but 38 to 42. I mean, the next target from here, if we drop after, a month or whatever, and we drop again, 48 to 52 is kind of the next area that I'd be looking at right here, like around the bottom of the consolidation from last year. So I'm kind of looking like 48 to 52 as like the next area where we might bounce. But again, ultimately, I do think if we're going lower till October, November, something like that, I do think 38 to 42 makes a lot more sense. And again, that's more in line with where the data says we kind of need to be looking anyways. So, and there's a huge imbalance here. You'll see there's a huge imbalance between this move that happened in October of that year as well. You had a big impulsive move to the upside. So there is an inefficiency and an imbalance here in the market. And you can immediately see that there's a horizontal level where you had some closes here. So you had a close, open, boom. And then here, same thing, close, open. So you have some structural reasons to look here as well on a horizontal. We'll see if we get it, man. We'll see if we get it. But yeah, all I know is that if we look at Bitcoin against just about any other sector, so if you're looking at Bitcoin against, if you're looking at Bitcoin against equities, why do I have these drawings on here? I think this was for, this was when we were talking about the parabolic nature of it. Okay. We're looking at Bitcoin against equities. It's been bleeding out. Like it's now in the area where we need to pay attention. Like it's just now getting to the area where we need to pay attention. Similar to that area on BTC, like similar to that 32, 35 area for BTC that we were just talking about, that would be that like 70% correction. Same thing here, right? You've got big support, big resistance, there you're looking for it to support roughly around here, right? If this fails, then you're kind of looking for a sweep of either that or even that against equities. But this is Bitcoin against equities at this point. Like it's not hard to see. You big move down, consolidates. Big move down, consolidates. Big move down. This should chop here against equities for a little bit. And if there's going to be another leg, it's got to probably go sideways for a little bit. If this is the bottom, it still probably goes sideways for a while, gives a final fake out, and then does something like that, and then tries to go higher, right? But time is the piece that's missing here. If we look at Bitcoin against commodities, similar idea here. Against commodities, I'm using GSG to measure commodities because this GSG bundles precious metals, energy. I think oil is in there as well. Agriculture is in there, so it's bundling like real world value. Same thing against commodities. Bitcoin is still heading lower against commodities. Although here you did get a very clean sweep of the last low, and it's not quite here. We'll zoom in a little bit more. Hasn't quite reclaimed that sweep, but I think it's got a shot. It's got a shot getting above the last month low and also the last quarter low here. Looks like it's trying to reclaim it, and you've got a better chance that Bitcoin is going to regain some strength against commodities than I think you do here against equities. Against equities is in the right zone, but that last quarter low is way up here. It moved away from that pretty quickly. So commodities is trying to hold that last quarter low a little bit better than it does against equities. Now, if we look at Bitcoin against gold, Bitcoin against gold is it's trying to catch a little bit of a bounce here, but it's kind of mid-range. It's kind of mid-range between the last quarter high and last quarter low. Same thing though. It's been just bleeding out, underperforming against gold. Coming up to some key levels down here that it did take out these key lows here. So, all right, so it took out some lows. If it's not going to go hold here, then I mean, in my opinion, like if we don't see a bounce here at or above this last quarter low against gold, then in my opinion, this is like when this does break down, I do think it's going to take out the bear market low against gold here, which, okay. And this is like another whole thing for discussion. It's never done that before. So what does that mean if Bitcoin takes out a bear market low against its gold pair, right? So BTC over gold, when it's never, ever done that before. And is that going to be sensationalized in the headlines and everyone's going to be talking about, Bitcoin's it's broken now because it took out a low against gold and now it has to go to zero. And, the thesis failed and it's not sound money and blah, blah. Like, that's going to be sensationalized. Is that going to add to the FUD and the selling off, which is then going to hurt the USD chart and bring it down here to where it potentially, historically would be looking for a bounce, right? So I don't know, just fun speculation. Who the hell knows what's gonna play out? But it's just things to consider. In the meantime, I'm long and strong off of this low here. I'm long and strong. I'm looking for a move up. I'd love to see a move to around 66 to 67.5 at least. And potentially to 72 to 74, at least for a short-term move up there. But look, I know we've got some news that came out, some like economic news. I know we got the SpaceX IPO coming up. Who knows, man? Who knows? Yeah, do people take profit on some of that stuff, Michael, and then rotate back into crypto? I mean, who the heck knows, dude? But I'm definitely here. I've got some short exposure from higher up. So I do have short exposure from 75. But I did take a long shot here at like 60K. So I did get long here. Minus 84, minus 70%. Dude, I don't even know what that looks like. Chinese to me. That looks like Chinese to me, dude. No idea. 84 to, yeah, I can't make that out. Why I think mid time frame the low is not in is because daily funding isn't red yet. Every decent bottom has had red funding. Yeah. Dump it more, please. Why? Here's the thing, though, Enrique. Is like everyone. Well, I got to be careful with that. It's very easy for me to say like everyone on my timeline is bearish, but it's all algorithms, right? Like it's all algos. My timeline is going to look completely different from yours, completely different from Michael's, completely different from Rudo's. Like it's just going to be a totally different timeline. So it's hard to say that. And I know that it's also not organic. It's the algorithm showing me more of the same stuff over and over instead of like what's actually happening. So, but I will say I am seeing quite a few people that are calling for lower from here. I mean, even Gary Cardone and seeing how strongly he has flipped. And again, I don't think he's asking unreasonable questions. I think he's asking the right questions. But even seeing someone like that who was buying in size, someone of high conviction that was a huge Bitcoin advocate, for him to now be on the side of like, dude, it's going to 40, it's going to 50. I'm ready to buy it at 50. Like, you guys are crazy. This thing is going to dump. There's no buyers here. That level of conviction is also interesting to me to observe and say like, okay, well, we came down to a massive level. 60K is a big level. We came right back down to that level. It was also, this same area was also like the POC of this entire sideways consolidation that we had back here in 2024. So we came back to this massive area here of demand, and it didn't just melt through it. It did not just melt through it. Not yet at least, right? And it doesn't make sense to me that after a drop of this size to go sideways here just to drop again massively. It's not that it can't happen. I know it has happened in the past, but I just I'm entertaining the possibility that it needs to maybe chop up a little bit higher, and then maybe we see that melt. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is maybe this bounce needs to go a little bit higher than what most people are thinking. And maybe there's a little bit more time that needs to pass, right? That's all I'm thinking. Whereas I think what you're thinking is you're thinking the opposite, right? You're thinking that this thing needs to sweep one more time so that we can then head up and potentially like take this high out or something, right? Which could be the case. I'm open to it. But I'd say I'm of the opposite opinion right now. I'm thinking this thing needs to like come up here, do something like that, and then I think it has one more move down still potentially. Like I'm still in the camp of that. Overall, I think we are going deeper into the 50s, 40s, right? Even if it means we go back up into the 70s before that happens. But we'll see. We'll see. If I'm wrong, we'll pivot, dude. We'll pivot. You think 58 to 56? There's just too much time left, man. There's a lot of time left in the year. A lot of time in the year. So, I don't know. Let me see if there's any comments here that I'm missing. You don't think we go above 74K, huh? Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. But the reason I'm entertaining it though, honestly, is the stablecoin chart, man. This stablecoin chart. If this is a failed rally and it doesn't, you know, if we can't get a monthly close above this over here on that sweep, I have to entertain this low as getting swept next, right? This low here getting taken. So if this fails, if this move up here fails, and in the next 20 days, this doesn't close above or higher, and instead it closes below or lower, then I have to entertain that what's coming up is possibly a sweep of this low here. And then I have to just ask myself, well, why wouldn't we just come down into this zone then in that case? Why wouldn't we just be looking at this zone here for a sweep, right? And a move down here, like if something like this is coming up for stables, this would mean that, as crazy as it sounds, this would mean that we're up here again. We're up here, possibly even above this, above 80, 83. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, that's what this move would look like. If stables don't close the month above that last quarter high, and that's a failed rally instead, it's at least coming here to these lows for a bounce. And if it can't get a bounce somewhere in here, then I have to entertain that it could be sweeping this, which means to me it's probably going to overextend into this based on the volume profile here, right? So it's likely to potentially come as low as this. And if that's going to happen, that's going to run this high. There's a really good chance it's going to run that high. And at that point, you know, I still think though that at that point, this could still be basing out here, but it may just take longer than we're all thinking. It may take a lot more time to base out if it's still going to go higher, right? That, or once it starts coming down here, we start paying attention for the possibility that it is ready to go this way, right? And if it is going to go this way, then potentially that bottom could be in. That bottom could be in, man. That may have been it, right? So it's all going to depend on what happens probably in the next few weeks. I think should give us quite a bit more clarity, especially with a sweep like that. I think it's going to be very telling to see how we close the next 20 days here and get that monthly and that quarterly close. I think it's going to tell us a lot. I want to know what your thoughts are on Hype's chart. It's been catching a lot of traders off sides. I was looking for like 45 to 55 for a pullback, but I haven't looked at it in a couple days. But it's been strong, dude. I mean, there's been no reason to try and get in front of that. I was like, what's wrong with this chart? It's inverted. Okay. There, let's see. All right. Yeah, look, it's pulling back. It's under 55 now. So my reasoning for wanting a pullback here is I wanted to pull back to this last range high essentially for like a bounce. So essentially, let's zoom in here. Yeah, see, it didn't go as high. I thought this could have pushed up a little deeper into this candle, but it is moving down into that range that we were looking for. And it's just kind of pulling here into this low volume area, but you know, ideally not below this. Ideally not below this. This was your point of your breakout right here, right? You saw the volume start to come in. Ideally not below that, but it definitely could come into this range here. So that's kind of where I'm looking. Like if this thing's coming down here, I think it's got an opportunity to this be the launch pad for higher from here, like from 45 to 55. If we lose that, you know, if you lose, if you lose this for sure, then I'm looking down here. If Hype ends up losing this and comes back below here, like 38, I think there's a good chance that it's moving back down here to these lows. And then what ultimately you have, and if it doesn't come all the way to the lows, at least somewhere near these lows, because ultimately then what you'll have, if this thing starts heading lower than here, about 38, I have to entertain the possibility that like maybe you've got something like this going on. you've got like a broader channel that this thing's going to move inside of. Maybe even like this actually makes a lot of sense. So maybe then you're going to come down here near like 30 or so, right? And if that didn't hold, then you'd have to ask yourself, like, all right, is it going to go for this? Because this is the risk. Like if you invert all of this, you invert this entire chart, the risk is that if it can't, if it can't get a rejection here at like 45 to 55, then was this basically just a deviation, right? Was this like the same thing that happened back here where you basically got a deviation above and then it went that way? Are you just getting another deviation and it's going to go back that way, right? Which on an uninverted chart means it's coming back for the lows. So that's what I'm watching for there. Now, the easy way to know that, in my opinion, is just we got to look for that monthly. We got to look for that monthly. If this month closes, if this month closes below last month right there, if we can't get back above that by the end of the month, I'll be significantly more cautious and less bullish about the bounce. But I still, at this point, I'm still thinking, I'm still siding on the bull side, which is I'm looking for a bounce. On the quarterly, yeah, same thing, right? Because then on the quarterly, same thing. You've got 20 days left. If this closes like this, you just took out a previous quarter high and you're going to close back below it. It's not going to be a good look. It's not going to be a good look. So, yeah, I think, for sure this is the level that you kind of want to make sure you get a close above at the end of the month, even if it's pulling back now. But so far, I'm still interested in shopping for a longing opportunity here on a pullback. Anywhere in this zone here looks pretty good to me. Anywhere around there. The closer you get to these highs back here is the best opportunity for sure. Like if you can get it down here, 42 to 45 is pretty sweet deal. But really, I think it makes sense to start paying attention under that 55 that we just came under. So, but so far it doesn't look bad. Just those are the two areas that I'd be watching. Really don't want to see this thing gain a lot of acceptance back below that, break below here, and then I'm basically looking for down here. If that doesn't hold, then I just think probably just need to look down here. Have we looked at hype against BTC recently? That's the question, because I don't think I have. What chart am I using? The KuCoin one? Let's put up the volume profile. Oof. I mean, that doesn't look good, huh? Against BTC. That is not a hype BTC. That is not a good look. That is not a good look. On the hype BTC chart, let's see what happens after a sweep of that weekly low there. It will have the potential to sweep that. And then if it can reclaim that, then maybe we can head back up. But for now, hype BTC looks like it needs to go at least there on the weekly. Again, if you close the month below last month's high, then even this one is telling you, even hype BTC, right? If hype BTC closes this month, the next 20 days below last month's high, then this thing, I have to start looking at the low of last month, which is down here. I have to start looking at the low of last month. So a lot of no pressure hype, but like you got to get on it here in the next 20 days and wrap up whatever this correction is and start heading to the upside. That would be nasty. Then I'm so cooked. I didn't rotate out of hype last week when I should have. Do I just hold on or cut my losses? I mean, dude, it all depends on where you got in. It all depends on where you got in and if you're willing to hold that. If you've got a really good entry on hype, I don't think it's time yet to jump ship. But if you got in like last week you know, I don't know. It depends on where you get liquidated and what you're willing to endure. But yeah, so far this is looking, I mean, that was the high to break above. And so far that was just a push above and we're already back below. I mean, you haven't had and here's the thing, we have not had a weekly close below there, right? On the move up, you closed above. This one, even though it came back down, closed above. This one, even though it came down again, closed above. This is the first week that we're coming back below this high from September. So this is a September high. So this is the first week that we're back below the September high. You really don't want to be spending a lot of time below that September high if it's going to go back up there, because it just makes it look more and more like this was just a trap. This was just a deviation. But again, like the monthly is going to be the tell for me. Even if we get a weekly close below this week, if next week it just shoots back up, and if it can stay above that through the end of the month, then I think that this move down was the dip to buy, and then it should be able to resume higher. But that's just my current read on it. And I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to what it's been doing when Bitcoin is like nuking, but it looks like it's been holding up. Bitcoin was nuking and this thing was just kind of hanging out. So yeah, I'd probably just treat this as its own separate thing. And I don't know that I'm going to give it a lot of weight in terms of, oh, Bitcoin's nuking, therefore this has got to nuke too. But this does look like a good pullback. Again, anything under 55, I'm paying attention. This is a potential discount. Below 45, it starts to get really juicy. But it, you know, the deeper it goes, the more up it has to move to the upside with less time, right? Because let's say it takes another week to get down here to like 45, 42, and it's hanging out. That takes a week off of those 20 days, you know, that are left in the month. You got in at 58, slightly down. 58. Yeah, you got in around here. Dude, this is why, like, this was a lesson that I learned by just bumping my head against the wall multiple times. I never buy when it's at a prior high or near a prior high. Just like I never sell when it's near a prior low. Like if this is coming all the way down here and it's coming here, I'm not going to jump ship here. Why? Because this is likely an area that gets bought up again, just like this is likely an area that gets sold off again. You got to be opposite. Like as you're coming into past highs, like what's the saying, right? You want to what? Buy low and you want to sell high. This was a high. This still is a high. Like that's still that same area. This is where it got sold last time. It's pretty reasonable to think it's going to get sold again. At least initially, right? At least initially. And this is where those charts form like those cup and handles that people talk about, because it'll come up into the same area as before. It goes a little bit above it or it's or right to it. It sells off for a while. People bought up here. They panic sell down here. That forms the low. And then you get the handle. And then they start aping in again when you get back to another high. People start aping in again. It goes a little bit above, pulls back again. They sell again down here, forms the low again. And then it starts going back towards that high, gets above that high. They buy again, sells off again. They jump ship again. It forms the low, starts going back towards the high. They buy again, starts coming down again. They sell at a loss. You get where I'm going with this? You got to break that. You got to break this pattern as soon as possible. Like break it today. From today forward, you don't play this crap. This is a perpetual bleed on your portfolio. This is like a cancer. You have to get rid of this, and you got to boot that from your life. Stop doing that. If you're doing that, you got to stop doing that. If you're buying every time this thing is high, and then you're seeing that you end up getting stuck in a position that goes down, and then you end up selling at a loss only for it to go back up again, and only for you to jump in again at the high, and only for it to pull back again, and dude, like you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing something wrong, and I'm stopping it today. You just got to say, I'm stopping it today. No more. That's it. It ends with me and it ends today. And you start over. You start over, but you don't buy highs and you don't sell lows. Print that out, put it on a sticky note, glue it to your forehead if you have to. You don't buy highs and you don't sell lows. And if we apply that same logic to BTC, why am I looking for a long down here? Because I don't sell lows. I buy lows. I sell highs. I would sell high. If it came back in here, I'd be looking to short. Here I would, we're looking for longs. You just got to break that. It's a thing in us, and you have to break it. The same people, and this was hilarious because you saw it up here too. All of the people who flipped mega bullish and started buying at 80K, they were bearish at 60 to 65. They were saying it was going to go lower, and then it started going higher. And oh my God, never mind. The bottom's in. This thing is ripping. They aped in up here. Now we're back again, and they're not buying again this time. They're going to buy when this thing is back up in the 70s again. And then it's going to go down again, right? Like you gotta quit repeating those patterns in your life, man. We all do. We got to get away from that. The sooner we break that and just write it as like an absolute, this is where you just have to raise your standards, man. You just have to raise your standards. This is a thing that you're unwilling to bend on, right? This is your non-negotiable. I will not buy at a high, and I will not sell at a low. It's a non-negotiable. Michael's the breakout Jeter, but like that's the difference though, right? He buys the breakout, takes a little bit of profit, and he gets out because there is a breakout strategy. But a lot of the data also suggests that initial breakout is usually sold off. That's where you get that cup and handle formation. You get the initial breakout, people sell, and then it gets a pullback, right? And it gives you an opportunity. So you just have to understand that a lot of times, man. And I'm not if you're DCAing like spot bags, you've got no business buying at a high. If you're DCAing spot bags, you need to be buying the lows. Even if it goes lower, you buy at the low, right? So just be careful out there, man. Be careful out there. Solana looking terrible, guys. I've been talking about $20 Solana for a long time. But this thing is just looking like trash. It's just looking like trash. It's not looking good. It is not looking good at all. Can Solana still potentially move back up to about $100 or so? Yeah, probably. But I think it would just get sold off. I don't know that it would sustain. This thing has a lot. This thing has a lot of people that still bought it down here at like $20 that are still holding it, even though it's dropped down this much. It needs to put them in a painful situation to get them to capitulate before the bottom is in on Solana, in my opinion. If you saw this chart like this, you would be bullish on it on an inverted chart. You would say that the bottom is in. You would say that very likely, here, let's just call it for what it is. Okay. Tell me what the difference is between Solana's inverted upside down chart and this long setup. Go ahead. Tell me why we're not looking at the exact same setup here on Solana as described in this image here. Massive sell-off, 2-year sideways consolidation period, basically, right? Since March 2024 through January of 2026, about 2 years of sideways consolidation. Now it's broken out of that range. If this thing pulls back here, do not think that there isn't a chance that it's just going to reject and go the other way. This is textbooks, guys. This is textbook. Boom, boom, boom. You know what the problem is? Problem is it's inverted. And what you're actually looking at is Solana down here to some numbers that you don't want to deal with. This was distribution. It's undeniable. For 2 years, Solana distributed from the people that bought it down here, the people that bought it significantly cheaper than it was, to new retail FOMO buyers that were buying it at these stupid prices to throw into meme coins. This is what happened. These guys and these guys sold their bags up here to all the rookie newbies that were coming in thinking they were going to become Solana millionaires, buying it at $150, $200. And while these guys were selling, these guys were taking profit up here. And now it's marking down. Now it's finding balance again because there's not enough people buying it at these prices yet, right? How cheap does Solana need to get for buyers to step in with size again? Well, in my opinion, you need to create a discount even for these guys. They need to see it as an attractive buy again. And these guys that bought up here need to be in enough pain and discomfort that they say, screw it, I'm just going to get out. This thing is looking like trash, and we haven't seen that yet. In my opinion, that happens somewhere down here, under 40 bucks. And I've been super, super consistent with my take on that. I've not pivoted. I did a lot of time looking at Solana against ETH, BTC, against everything. And guys, when I sold this high, I was loud about it on spaces, on streams. I was done. That was it. Solana had done everything Solana was going to do. Send it to zero. There you go. That was it. I was done. And I've been saying Solana to 20 for a while now. And that's not going to change. Solana's going to $20. You don't have to like it. But there's a pretty good chance. Can we just invert all the charts? So that's what I do, Michael. That's my cheat code, man. I invert them. If I need something along, I just invert the charts, man. You know. Yeah. October. October. October on the inverted chart. Oh man, that's gonna be brutal, dude. Will I buy Sol at 20? I mean, it depends how low it goes, right? Like I have a thesis. I think it's gonna go near 20 bucks. Maybe it doesn't go exactly to 20. Maybe it bounces 30, 40, you know, but I'm looking around that $20 level. And but it could also go lower, right? I'm not, I will tell you this. I am no longer the guy who's buying in expectation that the low is in. I'm going to be the guy. So let me describe it very simply. I'm not the guy that would be buying in any of this here, trying to catch the low. I'm the guy that's going to buy out here once I know the low is in. Even if I miss out on that small little bit on the downside, I don't care. So if Solana needs to come down, do all kinds of stuff, consolidate, like I'm the guy that's going to buy once I know for a fact that there's a really good chance that that low is in. I don't care if that means that I end up buying it again at like 40, 50 bucks. I don't care. I'd rather buy there than try and front run what I think. Like this is where I think a lot of people are currently getting wrecked and will continue to get wrecked, is this idea that we have of like buy the dip. Every dip you buy the dip. These guys have been buying the freaking dip on BTC since 126K. I remember when 1010 was the 1010, right? This was the dip. This was generational entries. This was your generational long. You're never getting a discount like this again. That was the wipeout of leverage that we've never seen in the history of the crypto market. It was the most brutal thing. If you weren't buying this dip, you deserved to be poor and you were going to miss out and your grandkids were going to hate you and your book was going to be written, or your name was going to be written in the history books as like the biggest loser of all time if you didn't buy that dip. Same thing was said here. Same thing was said here. Same thing was said here. There's a lesson in that. There's a lesson in that. People are buying because they don't want to miss out on something. There's still too much optimism. There's way too much optimism still here. I want to buy when people have given up. I want to buy when people are saying, dude, like this, there's like, this thing has to go way lower. It's broken. There's no way. And especially once we know that there's a good chance that the low was in and people are in denial that a low has been put in. You kind of saw that in BTC. BTC last cycle was going lower, 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 lower. Finally puts in the low. Finally puts in the low down here. Spends over 2 months going sideways. Over 2 months going sideways at about 16K, right? Breaks up, right? Still people are in denial. People were in denial that the low was in till about 25K. At 25K, it was undeniable. At 25K, it was clear that was very, very likely the low. And that's where you really started to see that parabolic rise up where people are like, all right, I think that's it. I need to ape into with size. But yeah, I'm not looking to buy the dips. I want to buy once I know the bottom's in. Even if I'm late, I don't care. It's not going to make a difference if I bought the Pico bottom or if I bought in late. It's not going to make a difference at all. I'm not going to get a gold star. I'm not going to get a trophy. No one's going to invite me to some kind of awards party because I nailed the bottom. It's not going to matter. I'm taking unnecessary risk by trying to DCA down instead of just waiting to know and then just buying at a lower average price anyways. How do we know for a fact that the bottom is in? When monthly, you're going to need to see like monthly or quarterly structure confirm it. You're going to need to know for sure that you're no longer putting in lower lows on a quarterly basis, right? Like here, if we look at last cycle, right? When did you know the bottom was in? When you got this first quarter of just vertical price action. It was hard to argue at that point. You had taken out 2 prior quarters of downside action in one single quarter. Like that was pretty undeniable. That's that 25K level. You put that move in, you had a pullback here. That was that 25K level. At that point, you knew it was undeniable. Undeniable that there was a really high chance that was it. And then timing had been roughly a year from the top to the bottom. So there was a lot of confluence in that. There's a lot of reasons why at 25K, you should have been saying, okay, I think I missed the bottom, but now I can confidently get in. We need to see something like that. We need to see a big green quarterly candle. You saw it back here too in 2018, 2019. You got a big green quarterly candle. Even though it wiped out one more time, the bottom was still in. Then you had confidence that it was going to make a big run up. So when we see a big candle on this quarterly chart for Bitcoin, a nice big candle again that engulfs at least a quarter or two of previous downtrend, then we'll know. It's when you're dreaming. Didn't I say buy lows and sell high? Yeah, 100%, man. But it depends on if you're trading and if you're DCAing for spot. There is a different strategy there. There's definitely. And what I mean by that is like don't get too bearish at the low, don't get too bullish at the high, right? You want to be buying the low, selling the high. But even then, even in this example, we don't know that this is the low. If this thing still goes down here to 32, you think you're buying the low now? That's not going to be a low. You're kidding yourself if you think this is a low and it goes to 32, right? We don't know if it's going to 32, but we don't know that it's a low. We don't know. And at the end of the day, you know, everyone's got to make up their mind depending on how much money you have to invest, what your risk tolerance is. But as far as like, I'm not the guy who tries to nail the bottom. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that again, just to clarify. I'm not the guy who's grabbing a long here or in any of this. I don't try and long any of this move down. I will long this or I will long this. Once I know that price action is starting to change and show that there's some strength coming in. I didn't buy any of this. I waited for a bounce and then I participated, right? I wouldn't be buying this move. I would be buying somewhere up here. I almost never grab the exact bottom. I almost never do, and I don't even try. It's just not my style. Not my style. 15K, you're calling it, man. Buy high, sell low. If you're unprofitable, make a bot that is inverse to you. That's pretty genius. You could have. That's the funny part, right? Like if you like doing the discretionary trading, you like to take the trades yourself. It actually is not a bad idea. Almost like have two accounts, one where you take the bull call, one where you take the bear call. See, and then just study the data to see which one's more profitable. And you're like, man, every time I take the counter trade to what I was convicted of, I'm winning. That's funny. Anyways, guys, we're at the hour mark. We're actually a little bit past that. I think we've got some more shows coming up. Let me double check the calendar real quick. Yeah, so there's another show, Macro BTC ETFs, tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time here on Wolf. That'll be streamed both on X and on YouTube. You guys can catch that show if you're interested. Otherwise, tomorrow, there's a all things BTC and macro at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. And then we've got the RWA tokenization space at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, a 2 p.m. Trader Talk on X, another space. And then I'll be back here streaming again tomorrow at 4 p.m. So I'm currently doing Monday and Thursday. I'm doing Monday and Wednesday, at 2 p.m. Eastern. And I'm doing Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. So, guys, if you like this kind of content, if you like this show, if you'd be so kind, I'd appreciate a like, a comment, a repost, share it with a friend. If you got a DM group of people that like this type of stuff, invite them, have them come join us, hang out with us. I like the engagement. I like the questions. I like the back and forth. I like when people push back on my takes or ask me to give a counter or challenge. I enjoy all that. None of this is scripted. I just do it all live. It's all improv. When you guys come in here and you ask something, I don't have a chart fired up, ready to go. We'll do it live. It's just how I roll. But appreciate you guys jumping on and hanging with us. Shout out to Public. Once again, sponsor of the show. You can check them out, public.com/wolf. Go check out some of their AI tooling for the brokerage account world. Go see what you can set up there for your stock, crypto, commodities, options, all of that stuff. Go check them out, public.com/wolf. Guys, with that, I'm out. Have a great rest of your day. I'll probably be live again this evening. Yeah, more than likely I will. Probably around like 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll be live again, just from my personal page, not from the Wolf page. I'll be live from my personal page. And look, we'll pull it up. We'll be a little bit more chill, kind of like a chart and chill session. But we'll look at some alts, man. We'll see if there's any altcoin, little degen stuff that we can play. Maybe we can fire off some trades while we're on the stream. But until then, guys, appreciate y'all. Thanks for hanging with me. And we'll see you guys tomorrow back here on Wolf Bitcoin. Peace, guys.